Stuart, some good news this week with international call-ups. Theo Bair is maybe the headline one after 3 or 4 years out. Must be great for the club to get that recognition and for the player as well.
Yeah, it's excellent. I think I've been saying that for a chunk now. That any time we get anybody with an international call up, whatever level, whatever country, I just think it always bodes well. I think there's always a talking point that you don't want your players going away and risking injury and all that. I don't really buy into it, to be honest with you. It's great for the football club. It's a good news story, but it's most importantly it's good for the player. I know that when Theo come here, if we want to just single him out, that he had a real ambition to get back in that Canadian national squad. His form, whatever it is, I think something like 9 goals in the last 10 games, however many assists in there, is a heck of a record when you think about some of the teams we've played along the way in that stretch of games. So it's his just reward. He's been working tirelessly. I know the club had released a wee bit just to give an indication of some of the work, and that's not for show, that's legitimate. And as I say, he gets his just reward, and we're all delighted for him, but we're delighted for all the lads that have got that international call up, and hopefully they all go away, hopefully they all get minutes on the pitch, and hopefully they all come back with some really good experiences.
Good to see that kind of insight into how you just the kind of lengths and the team, the team ethic to help a player improve. It's not just the player, the coaches, the analysts as well, everybody involved in that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good opportunity for me. I've speak about it constantly. Ross Clarkson and Graham MacArthur, for us, our 2 analysts here, are absolutely sensational at what they do. I genuinely mean that. The level of detail they go to, but probably most importantly, the bit that goes unnoticed is the work ethic. But we do feel that we've got that as a staff. I'm naming Ross and Graham and amongst that, but from the staff in general, I actually had a couple of people in here last week. We basically opened the door to them to show them last week being a good week for it, kind of how we work and the lengths we go to, and it's not to pitch us above anybody else, but the 2 guys that are involved actually in grassroots football are just absolutely blown away by not just the level of detail, the care that we have for individuals, the care that we have for our team specifically, but I think the biggest thing for them was the work ethic from the staff. That's perceived maybe last week as a kind of week off because we never had a game at the weekend, but it's absolutely not how we see it, and I've always been a believer in that. If you work incredibly hard, you'll get to look yourself in the mirror at the end of it, for better for worse. We're talking about Big Theo. I think that just shows you that work ethic, going to those lengths to want to get the best out of your career, but also meeting a force of a group of staff, not just myself or Stevie Frail, but all the staff here at the football club that have that kind of same vision and line up with the same ambition for your career. But as I always say, we need guys that are coachable, and we need guys that really want the best out of their career. If they come in here, same spiel from me, if they come in here with a huge ego, then how far can you take it? Because they probably think they've already made it, and they probably think that they're as good as they're ever going to be. And we've had several players in the last year plus that realise that they can get so much more out of their career, and if we get that as a group of staff, we'll 100% back them, and we'll give them every minute of every day to strive for meeting the goals that they set themselves, but maybe for also what we think they can get to.
Just going back to Theo, obviously we've seen his quality with the goals and the goal against Livingston, the disallowed one against Celtic, which just shows you how confident he is, but he seems to be almost physically dominating players, big defenders that he maybe wasn't 5 or 6 months ago. Was that kind of a sign of his confidence, or something that you've worked on as well, just to get him to use those attributes as well? Yeah,
there's a lot of different ways of looking at it, and big fella popped his head in the other day, not trying to disclose too much, but he pops his head in the other day. We know about the international call-up, and as I've said so many times, he's the most humble person I think I've ever met, which is terrific for me. I think it just epitomises a guy. He wants to show his appreciation to people that work with him every day. By no means does he think he's kind of optimum level of performance. He thinks he's got loads to go, as do we, but there's also that bit of consistency. Once you hit that level, you need to be consistent. That's what the top players do, and they do it week upon week. But I just think that when you look into kind of how he's performing, what he's doing just now. I thought that there were so many good attributes and so many good qualities earlier in the season, but I think that you can just see how much it evolves when there's a bit of confidence in there. Once he starts hitting the back of the net, I could dissect so many games for the start of the season to now, and you would see so many similar traits. It's just fine margins, different types of movements, utilising his frame and his physicality, which you've touched on there. Probably getting him fit is one thing as well. You look at that striker that covers plenty of ground. His work ethic, again, going back to that work ethic, is top drawer. He presses for the front. He's part of what we are defensively, not just offensively. But it's took us a little bit of time to get there as well, and Big Theo will acknowledge that, because he probably is a bit of a baby when you look at the amount of game time he's played, if that makes sense. He wasn't someone that come here with loads and loads of minutes and game time under his belt. So I think sometimes you have to have an appreciation of that. 24 years old doesn't mean to say that you're sitting there with sort of 150, 200 appearances. He's not. So we need to build into that, and I always believe that once you start to get those minutes and that trust and that opportunity to play, then that's when you start to see the fruits of your labour. And Big Theo's realised that, and I think that was something he probably came here with, knowing that he'd only played, he hadn't played lots and lots of games, and he hadn't made lots of starts in his career. The potential's there, but I think now, as I say, with that level of confidence, you're starting to see him maybe join in and take part in the elements of the game that maybe before he was maybe looking at one of his teammates and thinking that they'd be a better option. I think with the confidence he carries just now, he wants to be involved in every element of the game, and I include the defensive part in that as well.
Stuart, looking on Saturday, when we put you in a fantastic position, has that kind of been drummed on the players as much?
I think just really from our side, we just break it down to what we've got and what we've got in front of us. Aberdeen's the game that we've got to play on Saturday. You're much maligned when you're on a bad run. We look at our levels of performance recently been good, and there's been one or two defeats in there even when we felt we've played reasonably well, but coming off the back of 2 victories, would make that argument. Would we have wanted to play another game at the weekend? Probably, where we sat, but as it's been, we've tried to keep the momentum going as much as we can in the training sessions, try and continue to get better at how we want to play. Not so much focusing all the time on the opposition. That's a part of it. We want to try and get better at what we want to do. So the last however many days, 10, 11 days, whatever it is, has really just been about us trying to continue to get better. We've used it as a wee opportunity for some guys that have come back for injury, for some guys that were short in game time, to just keep seeing if we can nudge those levels up, so that we're actually getting guys peaking towards the end of the season. So certainly not been a holiday for us in any way, shape or form, but no, it has to be a game that we look forward to, playing at home again in front of our own fans in decent form, and still plenty to play for in the season as well. You look at it for that side of things. We ain't shouting our mouth off to tell anybody what we're going to do, but very simply, if you can continue in decent form, then who knows where it goes. It's going to be a difficult ask for us, looking up the table, but it's not impossible if you can string together some wins.
I imagine you guys will all be flying as well, since what was a fantastic, brilliant, massive result.
I think football moves on so quickly, doesn't it? We could sit and pat ourselves in the back and give each other a warm embrace and say that we're fantastic, because it's the first time in 27 years that Motherwell have went in a league to Ibrox and won a game of football. It's a remarkable achievement. It is. I think you have to stop and take stock of that. But we laugh probably as a group of players and staff that as soon as you meet any kind of milestone, that the thought process has to go into the next part. Now for us there was a bit of a pause and a bit of a delay, as I've already said in there, but pretty much since the game finished at Ibrox, we've been fully thinking about what comes next against Aberdeen. We've been working towards that. Aberdeen will have played twice since we did, so again we need to try and utilise that, but there's been a lot of change at Aberdeen in that period of time as well. So I watched them last night, watched the game last night, and as much as you possibly can when you sit a game of football, you're not just there to make up the numbers and the attendance. We're trying to take as much as we possibly can from how they're playing, what they're trying to do. Peter's obviously come in and taken his second game in temporary charge, so we need to try and take as much for that as we possibly can, but all the while trying to act in the best way we possibly can and play the best fashion that we possibly can.
How good a feeling is it looking up the way though, considering the battle that is kind of heating up down there?
No, again, we'll certainly not put ourselves in a position where we think that we're comfortable in this league. I think any time you do that you're always going to get bitten by that sort of naivety and that comfort. So no, we treat this game with full respect. I think our last 4 games have been against the top 3, and Livingston has been our last 4 games. We've approached all of those games very much with the same mindset, and knowing that most of them they're different games and they're different challenges. But now again, I probably have to go on record saying that we've got some guys playing at the top level just now. We've got some guys performing really, really well, and I'll reference Liam Kelly, who has been criticised in stages over the course of this season. I think the last 4 games he's made the most saves out of any goalkeeper in the league. Blair Spittle's played the most key passes in the last 4 games. We've played the top 3 in amongst that, so for me that's a pretty good achievement over that spell, and with them and plenty of others we want to try and keep that form going.
And last one from me, how's the squad?
No, much the same. We look as if we might be missing Jon Obika. Jon picked up an injury in training on Monday, which was really unfortunate and disappointing, but I don't really have a specific update on that. We'll have him scanned, we'll find out exactly what's going on there, but out with that it looks as if we're pretty much as we were. Moses Bair comes into the fray as well, even though again probably just managing expectations. It's been a long time since he's played football, and that's the kind of plan that we've set out of where we want to get him to.
Can he contribute off the bench immediately, or is it a case of just letting him see it through?
Yeah, listen, he's took part in every training session, and he's had minutes on the pitch and a bounce game as well. But again, as I say, I need to manage expectation. I think he could possibly give us something at this stage, but it is very, very early. We're going to have to do an awful lot of work with him, similar to what we've done with the likes of Sam Nicholson and 1 or 2 other guys that had missed a chunk of football. Obviously, the process took a little bit longer in getting Moses into the country and into our group, but he's looked pretty robust in amongst it, and we know that he has a decent eye for goal, so it becomes another one of those sort of projects for us that we want to work away with through time, and hopefully he adds plenty to this football club.
Jon Obika, is that a similar injury to what he's had previously?
Yeah, listen, it's a hamstring injury, so John's obviously had a few of them, but as I say, in terms of how long he's going to be out for or the exact extent to it, we don't have that answer at this minute in time. But disappointing for Jon. John's obviously disappointed, but the one thing we'll always do is what we have done as a club way beyond my time is we'll look out for him, we'll do the right things to try and get him back fit as soon as possible.